Up next on today's Wild West, we'll saddle up at Montana's historic Circle Bar Ranch in the beautiful country where legendary cowboy artist Charlie Russel once rode.
This is a man with immense talent.
Then we'll show you the priceless Mackay gallery of Charlie Russel art at the Montana Historical Society. Plus, you'll meet the artist in leather whose custom cowboy boots sell for $10,000.
And I answered an ad in the paper for stitching boot tops.
Today's Wild West is next. The Wild West. It's still out there. And we'll show you how to find it. This is today's Wild West. It's morning in Montana. And the cowboys at the Circle Bar Ranch are driving in the horses. It's a timeless and beautiful routine here southwest of the tiny town of Utica, whose 1880s Wild West heyday was captured by Charlie Russell's famous oil painting, A Quiet Day in Utica. The legendary Western artist would be right at home gathering horses on the Circle Bar. He spent most of the 1880s as a working cowboy here in central Montana, and once lived just up the road at mountain man Jake Hoover's cabin, which he painted more than once, a cabin still standing.
Okay. So I told you guys that...
which the Circle Bar will take you to visit.
So 2 people lived in this little thing
So
for 2 years.
2 people lived here for 2 whole years.
And they must not have been very tall.
So Charlie lived here from 1880 to 1882. He came here when he was 16, and Jake kind of took pity on him and offered him the chance to come and live with him here. And so he helped him get on his feet for a couple of years.
They sure did pick a good spot.
They really did.
85 miles southeast of Great Falls, the Circle Bar sits at the base of vast, unspoiled national forest lands. An area that looks much like it did when Charlie rode this country. And for many, the chance to see it all horseback is a dream come true.
You know how many times I've watched City Slickers? Loved it.
Peggy Massey is here celebrating her birthday with her 3 adult children, James, Robin, and Kim.
Always wanted to do this.
And your first time ever?
First time ever.
The family is taking full advantage of all the Circle Bar has to offer. Riding. Go! Roping. Even badminton upstairs in the barn. Before finally chilling out around the campfire to roast marshmallows and watch the sun go down. Simple pleasures, fun stuff.
All right, group hug.
In the morning, they'll head out for another ride, a fast ride, open to guests able to pass the fast ride test, like Jen Wilder. So you just had a personal fast ride?
Yes, it was probably one of the fastest rides I've ever been on.
Really?
Yeah, it was so much fun though.
Lessons are available for those who want to take their riding skills up a notch, or you can just sit back in the saddle and enjoy the view.
The vast majority of folks just want to relax on a horse. They don't want to feel like they're uncomfortable. They just want to be able to have something that's going to go down the trail.
Yeah, we went for a lovely, lovely ride yesterday. Beautiful. I expected it to be beautiful up here, but it is unbelievable when you get back on the trails.
The one advantage we have here is spreading out a little bit. We don't have to go nose to tail. We can spread out and go cross country. And
horses are at the heart of the Circle Bar, a ranch whose striking centerpiece is that magnificent historic barn built more than a century ago. Well preserved and still used today, the big red landmark stands along the banks of the Judith River that runs through the ranch, named by the Lewis and Clark expedition in honor of Clark's future bride.
You know what I love about this ranch is when you come in from a ride and you come over the bridge, and this is what you think a ranch is going to look like.
Does.
You've got the barn, you've got the just all the ambiances here.
While there are many things to do here, archery, shooting, and other activities we'll explore in just a bit, horseback riding tops the list. It's always exciting for arriving guests to get acquainted with the friendly horses, especially that one you'll be riding during your memorable days on the trail.
Cowgirl.
And what a trail it is, through more acres of private and public land than you could ever ride. Crossing rivers, wide open prairies, forest and mountain, often all on the same ride. The constantly changing big sky Montana is known for was looking a bit ominous on this late afternoon ride to the Judith River Game Range, but we were all too enthralled by the chance just to be here to worry about the weather.
Far exceeded my expectations. I mean, the scenery is just incredible. I got emotional on this morning's ride.
Yeah. I got a little weepy myself.
Yeah,
we
it was
over
just
that one ridge.
You and nature and your
And
horse alone out there.
And yeah, I started welling up my tears.
It was an emotional
Look
experience.
at this.
Besides, we were in good hands with our guide Alice, who was keeping an eye on the clouds and focused on keeping us safe. It all worked out perfectly. We arrived back at the barn just before the sky let loose with a late afternoon thunderstorm. Whether you're a newcomer to the saddle or a seasoned equestrian, the ranch has the horse and the ride that's just right for you. And that includes saddling up to drive cattle.
I like it.
Wrangler Ross Knox leads the way
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go around this way.
as we head out to bring in the herd. Moving cattle can be a challenge, but Ross has been a working cowboy forever. Shows us how it's done.
Guys, go ahead and ride right down that fence and it'll bend them back this way.
It's a real deal cattle drive today, and gets especially western when the cows drop into the river.
Hey guys, I'm gonna try to bring it right back up there.
Takes a bit of try, but we get the herd out of the water, through the trees, and finally into the corral. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see more of those cows when we return to the corral. Where Ross and his wife Linny put on an amazing demonstration of horsemanship. The couple are both world champion equestrians.
You don't ever have to be rough-handed with these horses. They're so smart.
Side passing, spins, no-handed stops and starts, and having your horse willing to step out in places where most would not is more than just a show.
My hand is not, it's almost right in the center. I'm not pulling it one way or the other. It's all in your legs.
As Ross shows us,
To keep her separate from the herd.
they're all the practical skills a cowboy needs when working cattle and cutting a cow out of the herd.
Now all of a sudden,
Wow.
What do you guys hope that we take away from a session like this?
I hope that you would take away how awesome the horse is.
most people don't rope off their performance horses.
Takes my breath away. Really does.
So cool how they could just like turn it and be like near the
Actually, the thing
cows.
is the subtlety. You don't see what they're doing, right? It's all in the leg pressure. That's what Ross is saying, right? It's like leg pressure, where you're pushing it, where you're. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
You can't. It's invisible, right? You can't see it.
Pretty cool, huh?
Oh my gosh, that was very cool. Beautiful horses too.
Nothing makes you appreciate riding horses like doing the hiking yourself. And Alice again leads the way on a hike to Yogo Cave. This was once the hunting grounds of the Blackfeet Indians.
This is a buffalo right here. You guys,
Along the way, we see the petroglyphs and pictographs left behind by the ancient ones.
and then these are elk right here.
We have many rivers to cross on this most adventurous trek, but finally, we reach our destination, a cave where many a warrior once spent the night.
There's a slot right up here that opened out to the sky, so they would be able to funnel their smoke out.
Very cool.
That would be a good one to go swimming on.
Yay.
Meantime, back at the ranch, we're trying our hand at a skill every brave depended on for survival, archery.
Stick your left hand out nice and strong. Spread your
After a bit of instruction, we give it a shot.
There you go.
Okay.
Yay!
Not the kind of thing these guys usually do back home in D.C. But that's about to change.
So awesome. I love that you've just like taken to this since you've gotten here.
Like I said, I went to take classes.
Yeah.
It's
The ranch offers other shooting opportunities.
To load this thing,
Target shooting with 22s,
click.
or blasting clay pigeons with a shotgun.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
All under the expert supervision
So aim at the bottom of that bell. You're going to get it.
of the genial Ross Knox.
There it is. I said it's a damn foolish man that teaches his wife to shoot.
It's great fun for everyone.
Shoot some for you.
Paul.
But especially for those shooting a gun for the very first time.
Yeah, it was great.
Up in the
Good
hills,
fun.
maybe up in Scotland, there's a bit
Determined to hit it now.
It's all very safe, and you don't need to worry about bothering the neighbors because there aren't any, at least not nearby. Which makes the Circle Bar a great place to try e-biking. No traffic to worry about here on the gravel back roads of Montana. It's hard to believe, but not everybody loves to ride horses. So at the Circle Bar, they make sure there's something for everybody. And the Judith River we ride through is a great spot to wet a hook and try some fly fishing. Whatever your daytime passion, most everyone gathers together when the sun goes down and the music goes up. For a little outdoor line dancing. Quite the Western ambiance. And what a great place for children. Great fun to watch kids buddy up and play outside like kids were meant to do, with nothing to worry about. After a day outdoors, you'll sleep well in a rustic cabin by the sound of the Judith River and memories of a fulfilling day.
There's so much time pressure on people. And when they drive onto this ranch, I want them to feel an immediate release, just let all that stuff go. Because it is life-changing for some of them. It truly changes their perspective.
The Circle Bar. Charlie Russell country, where Charlie would feel right at home. And chances are, so will you. Just ahead, the priceless Mackay collection of Charlie Russell art at the Montana Historical Society.
This is the sun coming up.
When the land belonged to God, a vast buffalo herd stretching far beyond the horizon.
And you can see the light reflected off every drip of water that's coming off of those bodies.
We can gaze into that distant past thanks to the gifted paintbrush of Charles M. Russell, better known as Charlie, the legendary cowboy artist.
Malcolm Mackay was one of Charlie's patrons, and the Mackays and the Russells became very good friends.
This masterpiece is part of the fabulous Mackay Gallery of Russell art, on permanent display at the Montana Historical Society.
This painting was Mrs. Mackay's favorite painting,
which we were privileged to tour with the gifted actress and storyteller, Mary Jane Bradbury.
One of the things that scholars agree on is that without Nancy Cooper, there would be no Charlie Russell,
who brings Charlie's beloved wife Nancy back to life.
No education to speak of, not very good health.
In the one-woman show she performs at schools and other venues.
And she and Charlie just sort of collided here in Montana. Neither of them were from Montana. So it's a wonderful story. And to tell her story from her perspective is an exciting adventure.
Many books have been written on the great life adventure that Charlie and Nancy shared, including Nancy's absorbing unfinished manuscript, Backtracking in Memory, finally polished and published in 2021.
So this is one of Charlie's early paintings, caught in the act.
As you look into the bygone world of the Old West Charlie captured in his paintings, you also learn the story of this gifted artist.
This is 1894, just after Charlie had decided not to keep cowboying and to focus on his art.
Who left his St. Louis home at 16 in 1880 to become a Montana cowboy.
He was a cowboy until 1893, but he also was absorbing the stories of Montana.
Russell got to Montana in time to experience the closing chapter of the Old West.
Look at the dust.
Working on the big cattle outfits of the open range.
Look at how far back that herd goes. I mean, little details like that, the light shining off that dust, it's remarkable.
Living with Indians and witnessing their clash of cultures.
He balanced the stories by painting from the Indians' point of view.
Those experiences and the stories he heard on the frontier.
So many of his paintings are told from the perspective of the native people. Did Charlie see it? Certainly in his heart and mind he saw it.
Give his timeless work depth, perspective, and heart.
Charlie's compassion, Charlie's humanity comes through in so many of his paintings and sculptures because the story that underpinned the thing that he created is what he wanted viewers to understand.
Charlie was an immensely talented artist, but a terrible businessman, known for trading his pictures to pay off his saloon bill, until he met Nancy Cooper in 1895.
She thinks I'm a good artist, and you just can't disappoint a person like that.
Married a year later, Nancy inspired and enabled Charlie to focus on creating while she handled sales and exhibitions.
People would visit Great Falls and say to her, you know, if you really want to get going in this art business, you need to go to New York City.
To New York they went in 1904, where the Russells not only met buyers like Malcolm Mackay, original owner of this collection, but other artists as well, whose influence made a dramatic impact on Charlie's later work.
He'd been using house paints. That vault door is painted with house paint. He kept his paints and his brushes in an old sock that he tied to the horn of his saddle. This is not a sophisticated man, but this is a man with immense talent. That now that Nancy was making sure he was exposed to the right people and the right places and the right energy, things started to change.
Turn of the century America was fascinated with the Old West, and Russell would become the highest paid artist of his day. But he gave away some of his most prized creations, his illustrated letters.
Charlie Russell had a learning disability,
many of which are preserved today in Helena.
Charlie had dysgraphia, a difficulty writing. His mind and his hands just couldn't coordinate to be able to spell out words. And then when you think about writing letters is the only real way to keep in touch with friends for so long, he began to illustrate his letters.
Will Rogers certainly received a few of those. The two lifelong friends met in New York when both were unknown. Russell would later visit his famous friend on movie sets in 1920s Los Angeles.
Charlie thought that people wouldn't want paintings anymore, that all they'd want to do is go to the movies and see these Westerns, and actually it was quite the opposite. Western artists at the time were setting tone and style for how movies were made, and early motion pictures were often fashioned after the paintings that Western artists were doing.
Few Western movies hold up as well as the timeless Charlie Russell painting,
Indian Hunter's Return. Now, probably Charlie saw things like this.
Works that say so much, especially if you know where to look.
Look at what Charlie has put in the lower right-hand corner. He's put something that reminds us, you know, this is probably not going to last much longer.
It's just a taste of this priceless collection of Russell art waiting for you to discover at the Montana Historical Society in Helena, or in the pages of the many books about Charlie Russell and his biggest fan, his cherished wife, Nancy. Still to come, the handmade cowboy boots that sell for $10,000.
When you get a job in a boot shop, you are trained to do your job. No one's going to pay you to learn to be a bootmaker.
Lisa Sorrell is hard at work in Guthrie, Oklahoma, creating yet another pair of custom cowboy boots that sell for $10,000.
It makes me sad when people assume that I'm just such a snot that I think I'm worth more than everyone else. That is certainly not the case.
Cowboy boots worth 10 grand? That's a story that begins more than 30 years ago, back when Lisa didn't even own a pair of cowboy boots.
Started sewing clothing professionally when I was 15. I left my business behind in Missouri. We got married. After 6 months in a 3-room apartment, I got bored, and I answered an ad in the paper for stitching boot tops. I had no idea what that meant, and I'd never worn cowboy boots.
Just 3 blocks from her current shop, she went to work for the late Jay Griffith.
Who was just a legend in the world of boot making.
And Lisa was a good student.
He had a deal with Wall Drug at the time, and we were making just piles and piles of 1-row stitch pattern boot tops, which was the best training I could have ever asked for. And Jay always said that one way you could tell how good a stitcher was by looking at the back, because on the back you're not distracted by the colors, so you can really see if I made any bobbles.
After 18 months with Jay, she apprenticed under acclaimed Guthrie bootmaker Ray Dorwart, a one-time student of Jay's.
And I paid Ray for 2 months of training, and then after I finished those 2 months of training, he let me stay for a year and a half just making boots, helping him, stitching boot tops. It was a valuable experience because the more time you can spend with a bootmaker, the better.
And when she set up her own shop, she priced her boots the same as Ray's, $8.75 a pair.
It's not because I thought by any means I was as good as Ray. I didn't want people shopping around and going, oh, I'll buy boots from her because she's cheaper.
Lisa built high-end boots from the start.
Because I didn't have many customers, I was kind of playing with the fun stuff I wanted to make.
And she got lucky. The late Tyler Beard spotted her creative work.
So that was the sort of thing that Tyler put in the book.
And included Lisa in his book, The Art of the Boot.
Being in this book really jump-started my career. And then people got the impression that, oh, she makes really fun, colorful, intricate designs. And that's how I became known. I owe so much to Tyler.
In the beginning, Lisa was making up to a dozen pairs of custom boots a month.
I still make a traditional cowboy boot that you can wear in the feedlot if you want to, but my goal is to make it so pretty that you won't want to, and possibly so expensive that you won't want to either.
But then she realized just what it cost.
I was at $18.75.
And how long it took to build those boots.
And the day I sat down and figured that out, I realized I needed to double my prices. A week or so later, this lady called me and she said, what are your boot prices? And I practically hyperventilated when I told her $3,500. And I thought she would be mad at me. And instead she said, oh, you must be really good. And that's when I realized that price influences perception.
As time passed, the one-time student became a teacher with her own YouTube channel, explaining the finer points of boot building.
This is called push skiving.
Like skiving.
So skiving is when you take a piece of leather and you thin it down at the edge at an angle so that then if something goes over the top of it, you don't have a bump or a ridge.
But where do you find a skiving knife?
1 inch and 3/4.
Or the many other tools and supplies you need to build boots?
So I've got the metal shank in there. My whole bootmaking career, people have said to me, you used to be able to get this tool, but they don't make it anymore.
Long story short, Lisa discovered they do make those tools in Europe.
Once I began going to Europe and meeting shoemakers and visiting their shops, I realized, oh, they do make that tool. It's just no one's bringing it to the U.S.
Sorrell solved that problem. Beginning with skiving knives, she started a bootmaking supply business.
And before I knew it, I had over 4,000 products.
Plus, virtually any colored leather you can imagine.
That's quite a stash.
Yes, I'm a hoarder.
Including this gem.
Is this not the perfect shade of turquoise? It's been so hard to find leather and tools and supplies in this business, and I feel like I'm doing my part to help it move forward.
She's even produced a 15-hour DVD course on boot building and written a book, The Art of Leather Inlay and Overlay.
It's about how to create art with leather. It's basically the big book of skiving, but that just wasn't a very exciting title. But it's about how to work with leather and how to create art with leather, and skiving is such an important part of that.
Building custom boots is not easy.
Now you can start to see how this is becoming a boot. This is the front.
It's a physically demanding skill, craft, art, and a business.
You can be very talented artistically and in a craft sense, and then if you can't run a business, you don't get to keep doing it.
It's also therapeutic.
Sometimes I do get lost in it. It is like meditation for me. I'm completely quiet and in my head when I'm doing that.
Her late daughter, Paige, was a talented shoemaker who found peace working in Lisa's shop, but not enough to save her from the depression that took her life at the age of 20.
After I lost Paige, it was difficult because I had invested so many of my hopes and dreams educating her and watching her career, but it's still valuable for me to support the craft.
The one-time apprentice, who now has an apprentice of her own, has discovered a new passion.
The cowboy boot shoes, which are super fun. In the 1940s, during the war, leather was scarce, and a company called Olsen Stelzer started making shoes on a cowboy boot last. So they had the cowboy boot toe and the cowboy boot heel, but they were shoes, and I have always loved those.
Lisa still makes $10,000 custom cowboy boots, but with the cowboy shoes and the supply business, she makes only about half a dozen pair of boots a year. However, she's happy to refer you to other custom boot builders.
I like to play matchmaker.
And do anything else she can to support this craft that ever since she answered that want ad has clearly become a labor of love as well.
It's important for me to preserve the craft because it's my craft. I've spent my entire life in this craft, and I want it to be meaningful and worthwhile. I've found joy and peace in this craft, and I want other people to discover that as well.
Looks like you're well on your way to another pair of beautiful boots, huh?
I hope so.
That's it for now. We're back next time with more cool stuff from today's Wild West. I'm Mark Bedore. We'll see you down the trail. For more information on the people and places featured in today's Wild West, or to order show DVDs and books, visit todayswildwest.com. Funding for Today's Wild West provided by the Leggett Foundation,